Okay, let's pick it up with the counties. We left off with the cities. And so what we'll do is we'll begin the discussion on the counties. As we went over, cities have revenue, they provide services, um, various services like planning, zoning, police, water, fire, and so on. And they have various different structures. So we're going to switch gears and we're going into counties, of which there's 254 of counties in Texas. And the thing to keep in mind in counties is they're all the same organizationally. They all have the same organization. There's 254 of them, and they're all organized the same. Even ones that are as big as Harris County, where Houston is, has 5 commissioners with a county judge. So really, it's 4 county commissioners and 1 county judge. Just like Webb County, just like the smallest Loving County, they're all organized in the same fashion. Um, in 200 of them, there's a rural majority. They're rural oriented. Like Zapata, just south of us, only has 15,000 people in the entire county, and they still have 5 members. They have 4 commissioners and 1 county judge. And that's set by that's set according to the state constitution. All counties must conform to that structure of government. It's an administrative and legislative, not a judicial court, although the county judge used to have more judicial functions and can still do certain things. They can still actually marry a couple, so they still can act in some judge capacities. In fact, that's what originally they were designed for, to allow that flexibility. So here's the structure found in your book. You have the voters and then the commissioner's court. It's just that simple. You have the county judge and the county commissioners, 4 of them. And they have their own different districts, the 4 commissioners, and the county judge is elected countywide. And they oversee various services and departments. There are separately elected officials like the county clerk, district clerk, sheriff, and we'll go into those in a moment. But the smallest to the largest, Loving County, with a few hundred people, that's the same thing. 4 commissioners, county judge. Webb County, same thing, 4 commissioners and 1 county judge. Our county judge is Tano Tijerina, nephew to Wawi Tijerina. So there's a very patron-like system, atmosphere at our government's levels, all of our government levels. John Galo, who's running again in District 3, and I believe, I think he's the only one running, maybe. Cindy Liendo is in Precinct 4, that's Northwest Webb County, and Wawi Tijerina represents parts of central down south Laredo and east, and then Jesse Gonzalez represents the El Cenizo, Rio Bravo, pretty much that strip of south Webb County up into parts of Laredo. Each has to be equal in population, so each one splits up Laredo. So that's part of that overlapping jurisdictions that's very confusing. I have a councilman and I have a county commissioner. I believe my county commissioner is Wawi Tijerina, who lives in the Heights area. And then I have a school board member, and I also can vote for the county judge, but I don't think he's on the ballot this year. So this is the structure of the Webb County voters. They elect the county judge and commissioners, and they oversee all of these different departments. But again, there's a lot of separately elected officials who they aren't reporting to the county commissioner's court, not like the police chief reports to the city manager and the city mayor. That's not the case with the sheriff. He's independently elected. Now, he does get some money from the county commissioners court. It gets quite a bit. Let's go through these separately elected officials. First, there's the county attorney. County attorney is, again, separately elected and represents the state in civil and criminal matters. Counties can employ county attorneys and district attorneys. We have both because we're a good-sized county in terms of population. But he handles less serious crimes, misdemeanors and juvenile cases. And his office space, the salaries, they are paid by the county taxes. And he has to go before the county commissioners court to get funding. Now the sheriff, Martin Cuellar, she's elected 3 times, I think. He's been sheriff quite a while, since 2008, I believe. And he's the county chief law enforcement officer and maintains the county jail. I don't know, maybe 2010, I'm not sure. Anyway, the term sheriff comes from an English term, the sheriff. But the sheriff maintains order in the county outside the city limits. That the police force does, the city. The sheriff does maintain the county jail, as you know, in downtown Laredo. But the commissioner's court provides funding. Now, he gets funding also from the federal state governments, but he does get most of his funding from the county commissioner's court. Then there's the law enforcement and judges aspect. There's the justices of the peace, the statutory county courts, the district clerks, the justices of the peace, the constables. Constables, they're elected to assist the justices of the peace. So they serve papers, in some cases carry out security investigations. Justices of the peace can enforce Class C misdemeanors. They can issue warrants, issue small claims, that kind of thing. District clerk, they maintain records for the district court. More about that person in a moment. And they're, again, elected in separate districts. We have 2 in District 1, 2 in District 2, 1 in District 3, 1 in District 4. And they're decided by the county commissioner's court, where they are, what their jurisdiction is, and so on. Here are the constables. Rodriguez has been there for a while. Villarreal was recently elected. Diwali was recently elected. Cortez has been out there for quite a while. Then we have a county clerk, a lot of clerical duties. She keeps records for the county. The tax assessor collector, she collects county fees and taxes. I think that Rosie Cuellar lost to the previous county tax assessor collector. She's coming back. She'd been there for a while and had done a good job. Not that Cuellar didn't, but the voters decided to go back with the one who had preceded her. Then there's a county tax appraisal district. That's the one that appraises your property, and that's located on Clark Street, headed by M. Villarreal. And there's a county treasurer, and they're the ones who they receive all the funds, they pay them out. And most counties have a treasurer, but 10 or more have abolished it, transferred it to their offices, usually an auditor. An auditor checks the books, makes sure all the financing is done correctly. In fact, let me show you a couple videos on this that might be helpful. Let's take a look at the county clerk. What do they do? We'll talk about this for a moment.
Texas is home to more than 27 million residents, and every day we're making milestones. From being born and getting hitched to starting businesses, buying property, and more. But is anyone there to make sure records of those important milestones are safely preserved? The answer,
your county clerk.
Yes. Your county clerk. The county clerk's role is unique. They're the official record keeper for the courts, the county, and you, recording every Texan's most important milestones. If you were born in Texas, well, the clerk was there to welcome your sweet little cheeks into the world, officially making you a citizen of Texas and the US of A. When you got married, the clerk was there to celebrate and make it official. When you started your first business and you branded your first cow, well, the clerk helped record your business name and that brand of yours to thwart off cattle thieves. And when you bought your first house, well, the clerk recorded the sale and the deed. Same goes for your much bigger second house to fit your ever-growing family. And ever since you turned 18, the county clerk has helped you exercise your right to vote, as the clerk is in charge of holding all elections, and that's every election, from the school board to the President of the United States. And when you inherited all that land from old Uncle Buck, well, the clerk helped you secure the mineral rights on all your newfound Texas tea. And when you pass on and leave Texas behind, well, your county clerk will do their job and officially record that too, making sure you can pass on the legacy you built to those that you love. You see, as the circle of life turns, it's the county clerk's duty to officially preserve our many milestones. So, Texan, live your life to the fullest and keep making your mark. All the while, the county clerk will be right there, recording your milestones along the way and keeping those official records that we all count on safe for the future.
Yeah, that's what the the county clerk does. And these are important documents you'll need to do anything legal-wise: own property, dispose of property, transfer property, make contracts, prove who you are, birth certificates, death certificates, prove that you are to inherit some lands and so on. Get title to property, and that's these are important things in the life of every Texan. Okay, so that's the county clerk. Let's see if I have another person. Let's take a look at this one about the property tax bill. This one's kind of interesting as well.
Hey, honey, I grabbed the mail. We got something from the county. I think it might be our property tax bill. Oh, it can't be that bad.
So you just opened your property tax bill, didn't you? Seems like a lot, doesn't it? And you're probably wondering why the county would ask for that much money. Well, it's a bit complicated, but let me explain. Let's take a look at the bill, shall we? Let's say this dollar bill represents how much you owe in property taxes. Now, you may send that money into the county, but they don't keep it all. Oh, no. On average, more than half of that bill goes directly to your local school district. About 16% goes to your city, if you live in one, and about 12% goes to special districts like a water district, hospital district, or community college. And finally, the county is left with the rest, around 16%. And with that fraction of the money, your county goes to work for you, delivering essential services like the court system, law enforcement, emergency management and response, road and bridge construction and maintenance, voter registration and elections, records management for births, deaths, and deeds, indigent health services, family services, elder care, local tourism promotion, economic development, parks, and libraries, just to name a few. And they do all of this with just about 16% of the property taxes you pay. And that's not to mention handling the billing, collection, and disbursement of all the rest of that money that goes to the cities, schools, and special districts, which is why the county's name is at the top of that bill there. Now, I know it doesn't change how much you owe, but hopefully it helps you understand that your county delivers a whole lot using the funds from just a small portion of your property tax bill. Any questions?
Thanks.
Doing a lot with a little is just another way Texas counties deliver.
Okay. All right, let's see if there's any more that I think might be helpful. There's also one on the county judge, county sheriff. You can watch those on your own, but there's a lot of these interesting videos. If you go to the website, that gives you a lot of good information on how we organize our counties, what departments are there. We have elected offices, the commissioners, court constables, justice of the peace, who they are, how to contact them. Then we have all these departments um, that the county commissioners court oversees, you can see that there's many community centers, auditor's office, Head Start, um, economic development was mentioned, emergency management, the elections, that's very important right now. And if you go to, let's say we go to elections, it'll take you to the Department of Elections, where you can find out who's in charge, how to vote, how to register, et cetera, where your polling place is, and so on. So this is the services that counties do provide. Okay, now how much do they get, and where does their funding come from? Well, it's very similar to cities. They get most of their funding to do all these things from property tax and sales tax. Most of it comes from property tax. Now, they do get it from fees, that would be non-tax sources. They do get it from other government agencies. Um, the bottom line for all these counties and all governments is to balance your budgets, but not increase your taxes, although there is pressure to increase them with increasing demand for services. Most of it goes to personnel. That's what the blue part of the circle represents, for the sheriffs and all that kind of people, judges, their salaries, and so on. Now, some of the expenditures, that's the expenses, is restricted by state and federal government requirements, and spending varies from county to county because you have small counties. Most of the 254 are small counties, and so spending does vary, and it varies on various things. Some counties focus on certain things as opposed to other counties. Now, the commissioners court, those 4 commissioners and 1 judge, they prepare a overall budget, and this budget goes to all these special indigent care services like the regional food bank, border nutrition, kids cafe, and all these alcohol and drug abuse programs. It goes to fund the sheriff's department, the jail, um, and they are elected in similar fashion to the city councils. The judges elected countywide, and the commissioners are elected in districts. Okay, let's see what else. Now, their rigid structure, according to the state constitution, has led to many elected officials not being so competent, and so many have tried to go to more of a appointed, more of a merit system in large populations. Um, that happened in Webb County a few years ago. Counties don't have home rule. That means they can't change their structure to meet specific needs. They have to maintain certain offices, old ways of doing things. So, and Texans are strongly against changing it. Now, the border counties have their own set of problems because of their proximity to Mexico. The unprecedented growth in these counties has led to what we call colonias. And colonias are just areas without infrastructure that people live. They put a trailer on a piece of property owned by somebody else, they pay a rent, and they have to ship in water, bury their sewage, burn their trash, whatever. They're extremely poor, and the governments, they don't help because most of these colonies are on private property. And the private property doesn't want to hook up sewers and so on and so forth because it's going to increase their taxes and so on. And they don't want that. They want it to remain agricultural land, which has a very low tax rate. Right, Max? Anyway, a lot of them are occupied by undocumented immigrants, and the border fence, the wall, has made an impact on these population-wise. There's 2,300 of them along the border. We have quite a few in this area. they're shown on this map. This green area is just our extraterritorial jurisdiction area. More about that in a second. The city of Laredo is at this central area here. But these red numbers indicate the colonias like La Presse, Old Milwaukee, Highway 359, Group Number 1. And they're sometimes very close to the city boundaries, I should say. Some of them are a little further out, like number 9 here, which is Highway 59, Group Number 1, Colorado Acres, Las Lomas 1 and 2. And should county governments work on improving conditions? Well, yeah, sure. Who's going to pay for it? Probably you or I, and the property owners. And do any of them have a real want to do it? Not really, because that's going to raise our fees and our taxes on our property. Because the county does collect property taxes on my property, your property, even though I live in the city, because I drive on county roads occasionally, and I use county services occasionally. And now, the next form of government, we've gone over cities, counties, is special districts. This is the third largest, and in a lot of ways. And special districts, they come in 2 types, educational and non-educational. And the educational come in 2 types. There's the K through 12 and community college, really. And it is the most numerous of local governments. And they cut across boundaries of several existing local governments. And in suburban areas outside city limits, a special district is often established to provide water or sewer for a housing project. First, let's go through the K through 12 special districts. It's more than 1,000 of them, 1,101 or something like that. They have a superintendent who's appointed, much like a city manager. So a school board will have 7, 9 members, and they hire somebody, a professional with a master's or PhD, like a Robert Santos, and he's in charge of it. And he wields enormous power, much like a city manager. And he has to comply with a lot of state and federal requirements. And so he's kind of his own guy, because he's really got to comply with those before local government, his own district, gets involved. He has to really keep in line on that. In our schools, we have a very diverse, economically, ethnically population, 45% Anglo, 30-40% Hispanic, the rest other groups. Some are poor districts and some are rich districts because the tax base is high, some low. So there's an equity in school finance situation. Some can pay their teachers good, some not so good. Property tax is the only source of revenue. There's no sales tax. There's been a lot of plans and attempts to equalize it, and through business taxes and so on, and give more to poor districts. In Webb County, we have 3 school districts, public school districts. We have UISD with its 7 members. Is that right? Yeah, 7 members. So you have 7 members, and they elect their own president and vice president, and I believe there's another position, parliamentarian. The president right now, I believe, is Eliza Oliveros. Yeah, that's correct. She's the president. I think Ramirez is the vice president, or Feliz. I can't remember which one. But they are elected in districts from all over that portion, northwest Webb County. And they hire a superintendent, Roberto Santos, and he's contracted for several years. And and so that's what happens. Then we have LISD, which is downtown Laredo, and they have board members, also 7 board members, and they hire their own superintendent, and he oversees the campuses, and each one of them is elected in districts, as shown on this map. And for instance, they oversee the 3 high schools, LISD does, and the 4 middle schools, and the 20 or so elementary schools, K through 12. So independent school districts. Then there's the other school districts, or the community college or junior college or college districts. Now we're now a college district. We dropped the community, and now we're Laredo College District. And we get our taxes from the property in Laredo and from fees and from students. And we get some money from the Fed, some money from the state. Primarily, though, we are property tax based. Some community colleges get money from several counties, and one of them would be Southwest Texas Junior College or South Texas College, but Laredo does not. There's been ideas floated that we should get money from Olive Web and Zapata and Jim Hogg, but we still don't. We elect 9 members to a board, and they don't get paid, and there is a president of the board, and he is, I think he's elected by the board itself, and there's a vice president also, and a secretary. And they elect, or they appoint a president of the college there on the top right, and he oversees. Unfortunately, we're not doing sports this year. I hope we bring it back. And they meet and discuss issues of taxation and policy, but essentially the president really, he controls everything that goes on there. Here's LC Maine, back in the day when it was a Fort McIntosh. Here's the South Campus. Here's some of the new buildings. Now then, there's the non-educational special districts, of which there's over 2,300. And again, they do everything. So water supply, sewage, parks, housing, and that's all they do. They're not cities. They're just districts, water districts, and they have their own boards, and they may cut across several cities, counties, and that's what they do. Now, as of today, about 88% of Texans live in these metro areas, and they often have problems and concerns influencing entire metropolitan areas. It can't be maintained by current governing bodies. So one suggestion has been, let's combine all these urban, suburban areas under one government. That's one idea. One thing that's being used right now is to discuss current problems in a region is these councils of governments. And these councils of governments are an attempt by states to encourage coordination of local governments on a regional basis. They're voluntary grouping of governments. Governments don't give up any self-governing rights. But these COGs were established in 1966, and there's 24 of these. We're in the South Texas Development Council COG. And they perform regional planning and implement state and federal programs. Oftentimes they'll apply to the state or federal government for grants to help the area. So that it helps when we apply, when we're part of 4 counties or several cities to the state and federal government to tackle regional problems. State and federal bureaucrats love to see that. So they can say, oh, you know, hey, we're going to award this grant, and these counties, this area of Texas is going to tackle this particular problem. I was going to say something about the ETJs, extraterritorial jurisdictions. Cities can annex. That means they can take in private property areas and start providing services. There's certain requirements that they have to go through. And they also have extraterritorial jurisdiction in these areas. I think it's 1 to 5 miles out of their city limits. And that's this green area on this map are those areas that we can plan for in the future. So we can say, yeah, you can build this. No, you shouldn't build that in those green areas. So we can annex these contiguous, unincorporated, they call them, areas, and sometimes without a vote of the citizens living in the area. That's it for chapter number 3. So let's go back and just go over the counties one more time. Again, the structure is all the same in all 254 counties, okay? You have 4 commissioners and 1 county judge. Each of the commissioners are elected in districts. The county judge is elected countywide, and they oversee different services. There are separately elected officials like the county attorney, sheriff, judges, justices of the peace, constables, clerk, assessors, tax appraisal district director, the county treasurer, auditor, and they are responsible for their own areas. However, they have to go to the commissioners and ask for money, and the commissioners, through negotiation, will negotiate how much they're going to get to provide these services. So there has to be a meeting of minds because there's limited resources. And let's see, border counties, they have their own set of problems, of course. We have many living in colonias, which are very poor. And that's shown on this map. They have their own, and then special districts, the ISDs. And we've got several of those in Webb County, the junior college districts or community college districts. And then we have the non-educational districts. Most people don't live in cities or metro areas, in cities or suburban cities. And we do have councils of government. Those are voluntary cities that the leaders will meet and discuss common problems. So maybe this lecture will help you. I hope it does. And we'll conclude there. I will do chapter 2. I know I did them out of order, but go ahead and take a look at this, and hopefully this will help you. So take it easy, and we'll see you again very shortly.